So, what do floods in Peru, droughts in India, wildfires in Australia, and storms in the US all have in common? Surprisingly, the answer begins thousands of miles away in the Pacific Ocean. Today, we're talking about the El Nino, one of the most powerful climate phenomena on Earth, and how a patch of warm water, probably millions of miles away from you, can affect everything about your life. So let me take you through the El Nino. I'm Riva, and you're watching Just Advice. What is actually going on? El Nino begins with a shift in the Pacific Ocean. Normally, trade winds push warm water from east to west, but during an El Nino, those winds weaken, or even reverse. The warm water spreads back towards the east, towards South America. This shift might sound small, but it disrupts something much bigger, an entire atmospheric circulation system that controls global weather. But ocean-changing temperature is only the beginning. What happens after is where things really start to mix up. But El Nino is only half of the story. Because the Pacific Ocean doesn't just switch between normal conditions in El Nino, it oscillates between two opposite phases, known as the El Nino and the La Nina. If the El Nino occurs when trade winds weaken and warm water spreads eastward, the La Nina is essentially the reverse. During a La Nina, the trade winds strengthen, pushing even more warm water towards Asia and Australia, while colder water rises during South America. This often produces weather patterns that are very different from those seen during an El Nino. In many regions, the places that were once drier during an El Nino may now become wetter during a La Nina and vice versa. Together, these two phases form part of a larger climate cycle, known as ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. And while scientists can often predict these events while they're developing, their impacts can still be felt harshly across the globe. Which brings us to the most important question. What actually happens when the system begins reshaping weather around the world? See, this is where the El Nino stops becoming just a weather event and starts becoming a global economic shock that moves through everyday life in ways that most people never see directly. We've already seen this play out in real time. In 2024, a drought linked to the El Nino caused major agricultural losses across multiple regions. In the Philippines alone, government reports estimated billions in crop damage, with rice and corn among the hardest hit, forcing imports to stabilize supply. In parts of southern Africa, countries like Zimbabwe even declared states of natural disaster due to widespread crop failure driven by drought conditions tied to the same climate pattern. And when agriculture takes that kind of hit, the effects don't just stay local. Global food markets tighten. Staple crops like rice, corn, sugar, and coffee become more volatile, and prices often rise as a supply that becomes less predictable. And it's not just food. The El Nino also disrupts energy systems. In regions that rely heavily on hydropower, reduced rainfall lowers reservoir levels, forcing countries to rely more on expensive fossil fuels or face the electricity shortages. And on top of that, trade slows in a very physical way. Flooding and storms can damage ports, roads, and coastal infrastructure, delaying shipments and increasing transportation costs across global supply chains. Public health systems feel it too. Research has linked the El Nino conditions to shift in disease patterns, including increased risks of waterborne and vector-borne outbreaks in regions with limited infrastructure, as rainfall and temperature patterns change in unpredictable ways. And in stronger or super El Nino scenarios, like the one we might be facing this summer, these effects scale up even further, bringing sharper droughts to parts of Asia and Africa, heavier rainfall, and flooding in parts of the Americas, and the amplified pressure on global food and energy systems at the same time. But for all the efforts that we're doing, there is still more that can be done. We can start planting more natural defenses like mangroves. These coastal ecosystems act as living barriers, reducing storm surge, slowing floodwaters, and protecting shorelines during extreme weather events. We should also strengthen water and food systems. That includes improving irrigation efficiency, investing in water storage, supporting drought-resistant crops, and building strategic food reserves to stabilize supply during poor harvest years. At the same time, cities can upgrade infrastructure for both extremes, too much water and too little. And then finally, early warning systems that can become more advanced than ever with the right amount of care and handling. Satellites, ocean buoys, and climate models can now detect El Nino months in advance. Remember that none of these solutions stop the El Nino, but together they do something even more important. They reduce its impact. They turn a global climate system into something humanity can anticipate, something they can prepare for, and something they can adapt to. So the next time you hear the words El Nino on the news, remember that it's not just about the ocean temperatures, and it's not just about the shifting economies. And while all of this might sound frightening, there is another way to look at it. Every El Nino gives us a chance to learn more about how our planet works and how we can better prepare for the future. It pushes us to build, innovate, and create. And the truth is, we can't stop El Nino, but we can predict it more accurately. Because in the end, the goal isn't to control nature, it's to work in harmony with it. It's to be ready for whatever it brings. Thank you again for watching this video. My name is Riva and you're watching Just Advice. If you like the content that I'm creating, please hit that subscribe button and that notifications bell so that you can get an update every time I post a new video. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today. Comment down in the section below about what you would like to learn next. And tell me, do you think the El Nino is really going to hit us that hard? And are you prepared after watching this video? As you know, I love to read your guys' comments and feedback. And until next time, this is Riva Gaddam, and you're watching Just Advice.